got so much fucking design on right now.
The goodbye hug that wasn't acting, Chen Zheyuan and Liang Jie's real emotion. What if I told you that the most heartbreaking moment in their final scene, the hug that left millions of fans in tears, wasn't part of the script at all? What if I told you that in that quiet, trembling embrace between Chen Zheyuan and Liang Jie, something real slipped through, a truth they both tried to hide until that very last take? This is the story behind the goodbye hug that wasn't acting. Hold on tight, K-drama family. The world of your favorite celebrities is unfolding before your eyes, and every moment is more breathtaking than the last. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now, because trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. The scene that changed everything. It was supposed to be just another wrap day. The last day of filming for You Are My Desire had finally arrived. The air was thick with nostalgia and fatigue. Months of shooting, retakes, and emotional strain were about to end with one final scene. The director called out, "One last take, everyone. Let's make it perfect." The cameras rolled. The lights softened. And in that moment, Chen Zheyuan and Liang Jie, who had carried the story's delicate love from laughter to heartbreak, stood facing each other for the final time. The script said, she looks at him one last time, smiles faintly, and walks away. But that wasn't what happened. The unscripted hug. As the silence stretched between them, Liang Jie's eyes began to glisten. Her lips trembled. Chen Zheyuan tried to stay in character, but his chest rose and fell with emotion he could no longer contain. And then, without a single cue, he stepped forward and wrapped his arms around her. It wasn't in the script. It wasn't planned. It wasn't rehearsed. For a long, silent moment, the set froze. No one moved. No one dared to interrupt. The cameras kept rolling. The sound of Liang Jie's quiet sobs filled the room. And Chen Zheyuan, holding her close, whispered something no microphone caught, a line that would later leave the director himself speechless. When the scene ended, neither of them let go immediately. They stood there, two actors who had spent months building a world together, and said goodbye without words. The director's confession later, in an interview, the director revealed, that hug was real. It wasn't acting. I didn't call cut because I knew, this was their truth. You can't recreate emotion like that. He paused before adding softly, sometimes, you see two people who understand each other so deeply that even silence becomes dialogue. That footage, raw, imperfect, and unedited, was left exactly as it happened. It became the final shot of the series. And when the episode aired, viewers across Asia broke down crying. It wasn't just a farewell between characters. It was a farewell between two souls who had shared something genuine. Behind the scenes, what the crew saw, a makeup artist later recalled, when the scene ended, Liang Jie didn't stop crying. Chen Zheyuan stayed beside her quietly, offering his jacket. They didn't talk, they just sat there. The energy between them was heavy, but tender. Another crew member added, they had a connection you can't fake. It wasn't romantic in the ordinary sense, it was deeper. Like two people who saw parts of each other the world never gets to see. Rumors spread quickly after that day, that something real had blossomed during filming. But both actors kept silent. Neither confirmed. Neither denied. Instead, they let the story speak for itself. The interviews that broke fans' hearts months later, during a magazine feature, Chen Zheyuan was asked about his most emotional moment on set. He hesitated, then smiled faintly. It was the last day. I didn't plan to hug her, but when you've spent so long building something so real, you can't just walk away like it's nothing. So I did what my heart told me to do. He stopped, took a deep breath, and added softly, it felt like saying goodbye to more than a character. Fans were stunned. The article exploded across Weibo and TikTok. People replayed the final scene, pausing at the exact second his eyes closed against her shoulder. That moment became the most replayed clip of the series. And then, it was Liang Jie's turn. In a quiet interview weeks later, she was asked if she missed working with him. She laughed, but her eyes told another story. He's someone who listens without judgment. Someone who gives everything to a scene. Maybe that's why that last moment felt so real. The host smiled and asked, "Did you know he would hug you?" Liang Jie shook her head slowly. "No. But it was exactly what my character, and I, needed." Her voice cracked slightly. She looked down, smiling through the ache. Some things don't need to be planned to be real. The hidden meaning after the drama wrapped, fans began to notice something subtle. On Liang Jie's birthday, Chen Zheyuan posted a quote on Weibo, "Some goodbyes never really end. They just wait in silence." A few hours later, Liang Jie replied with a single heart emoji, then deleted it minutes later. The internet went wild. Was it accidental? Or deliberate? No one knew. But that fleeting interaction was enough to send their fandom into a frenzy once again. What the goodbye hug truly meant, maybe it wasn't love in the conventional sense. Maybe it was something even deeper, a rare emotional truth two people stumbled into while creating art together. That final hug was not a performance. It was the last trace of a bond forged through trust, vulnerability, and unspoken understanding. And that's why fans still talk about it, not because it was scripted, but because it wasn't. In that one unscripted moment, Chen Zheyuan and Liang Jie gave the world a glimpse of something real, a raw, fleeting connection that blurred the line between acting and emotion. The unexpected reunion. It was the 2025 Starlight Television Awards, a night where China's brightest actors gathered under a glittering sky. The event hall shimmered with gold and silver, the red carpet alive with camera flashes and cheering fans. No one expected Chen Zheyuan and Liang Jie to even appear at the same event, let alone share the same stage. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. As the host announced, "Please welcome the presenters for Best Couple of the Year, Chen Zheyuan and Liang Jie." The crowd erupted. Screams filled the air. Hashtags exploded online within seconds. Hashtag Chen Zheyuan Liang Jie reunion, hashtag the goodbye hug lives on, and then, they appeared. The moment the world stopped, Chen Zheyuan stepped out first, dressed in a tailored black suit, his expression calm, but his eyes betraying a nervous flicker. Seconds later, Liang Jie walked out in a flowing ivory gown, graceful, radiant, and visibly emotional. As they met at center stage, the lights dimmed just slightly, a soft, golden glow enveloping them. The host greeted them both, but their eyes were fixed only on each other. For a brief, breathless moment, it felt like time had rewound to that last day on set. The same silence. The same unfinished emotion. The audience watched in complete stillness, as Chen Zheyuan gave a small bow, and Liang Jie smiled through glistening eyes. "Long time no see," she whispered, the microphone catching every tremor in her voice. He nodded, voice barely steady. "Yeah, too long." The award they couldn't escape irony struck when the nominees for Best On-Screen Couple flashed across the massive LED screen, and their names appeared among them. Clips from You Are My Desire played. The laughter. The stolen glances. And finally, that final hug. The same scene that had gone viral, the one that wasn't acting. As the clip rolled, Liang Jie looked down, biting her lip, her eyes misting over. Chen Zheyuan's hand, subtly, tightened around the microphone. Every emotion they had buried was now playing in front of thousands, and millions more watching live. When the scene ended, the audience broke into applause. But the two on stage stood frozen, caught between their past and their present. The host's question that changed everything. Then came the question that no one expected the host to ask. "You two gave us one of the most emotional finales in recent years. Was that final hug scripted, or real?" The audience gasped. Liang Jie's eyes widened. Chen Zheyuan laughed nervously, glancing toward her. And then, in front of the cameras, he said softly, "It wasn't acting. It was us saying goodbye." The hall fell silent. Even the host was momentarily lost for words. Liang Jie turned to him, visibly shaken, her lips trembling into a fragile smile. "Then maybe that's why people still remember it." The crowd exploded with applause, but behind the polite smiles, you could see it, a raw, undeniable truth still lingering between them. The emotional truth behind the lights and fame, behind the red carpets and polite interviews, lies a reality fans rarely see, that sometimes, two people find something so real that it can only exist in the moments between action and cut. That's what Chen Zheyuan and Liang Jie shared. A fleeting, precious connection that blurred the line between acting and truth. And when they met again, under the blinding lights of live television, that truth found its way back to the surface, unspoken, but undeniable. Maybe that's why their story still lingers, not as a love story that ended, but as a bond that time couldn't erase. Because when Chen Zheyuan and Liang Jie hugged that night, the world finally understood. The goodbye hug was never really goodbye.